All right, guys. So last thing today is we need to talk about Fannie Mae and Jerome Powell. And I'm putting these two topics together because, Fannie Mae is coming out saying home sales will be weak in 2024 regardless of, quote, soft landing, which soft landing is a term that Jerome Powell and the Fed have been using for a long time. Even Janet Yellen saying soft landing. And Powell is saying housing sector showing signs of picking back up. So what the heck do we make of this?
So I think unless more houses come on the market because people need to sell because of a distressed financial situation, loss of a job, they got married, they need a bigger household because they're having kids, families expanding, whatever it might be, I feel that's the only thing that's going to, trigger more sellers. Unless rates start to come down a little bit and, give people the opportunity to be able to sell some of their houses so they can get into another house that isn't at a high rate and they have to pay so much for it. I think if those two things happen, then we could see a better real estate market. But unless one or the other happens, then, it's really going to play off whatever that does.
Here's the other thing that we also haven't talked about. We have Airbnb. Mm-hmm. We have all these short-term rentals now. So I think with the rules and regulations as some states are implementing, like Texas, they're implementing stricter rules on those things. For investors that can't rent it long term and the numbers are making sense, it's time to put that on the market, And what triggered that Airbnb frenzy was 2020.
Yeah.
Hey, I can work out of home. I can buy another home elsewhere. Now I can rent it out. Great. But once they start putting those rules and regulations, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of people thinking that they're investors because Airbnb is such a great thing that they're going to probably say, I got to pull out of this. This is a lot of work.
And I think, that'll bring a lot more inventory to the market, which will bring prices down. And then hopefully at the same time, the Fed is bringing rates down after, we go into 2024. And hopefully there's no recession in the beginning months, which is something that, was brought up in the article. So I think it's, very case by case. We have to continuously see it, observe it, and just follow the numbers throughout the year to really have an idea, because there's no way of saying this is what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen. As you saw, they said that rates were going to be brought down at the end of the year, but we're over here raising them. So it just goes to show you that a lot can change.
Yeah. And, it really did kind of bum me out to read that, Fannie Mae projecting a modest recession beginning in Q4 of this year or in Q1 of 2024. I mean, all the signs are kind of pointing at that. Of course, we're not supposed to say that on the internet, and you can't define what a recession is in 2023. Okay, but here's the real problem: is that things are resilient. Retail sales is resilient, and you have CPI resilient. You have wage growth resilient. And you have GDP still in the positive. So we don't even have the traditional definition of recession yet, which is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. We don't even have that yet. So all signs point to the Fed having to raise higher, which they just did at Jackson Hole. So Jerome Powell saying they're prepared to raise rates and they're prepared to hold it at high levels means that they are not going to waver from that 2% inflation target. And that just means that it will be persistent for longer.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful.
So, one of the things that came up that I saw that Powell said, he said, according to him, main concern here is rents, which have only begun to slow down. We will continue to watch the market rent data closely for a signal of upside or downside risks to the housing service inflation. So it goes exactly to what you said about the Airbnb. Once, the rents aren't coming in and they're not making their payments, I'd rather not foreclose on a property. If it has equity, you can sell it and still be able to, save your investment or, walk away without minimal damage.
And usually your investment, and that's why interest rates are much higher when people purchase investment, because they run that risk that, which house are you going to let go? Your primary or your investment? Hey, I'm not going to pay payment on that one. That's why the banks are more at risk. And so therefore it's going to be a higher interest rate because of it.
Yeah. The thing that I think is going to be really telling is, you're referencing Airbnb inventory coming into the market. I'm wondering if that is just going to absorb the people that are competing and being outbid. Because let's say that there's 10 buyers on a house and there's one offer accepted and those 9 are still looking, but there's 9 Airbnbs come up. All we've done is just equalize the demand and the supply issue. So I'm really kind of surveying in myself and the data, like what does that mean from an inventory and a home price perspective? A couple shows ago, we talked about our wager, our price is going to be higher, lower, or the same. We're going to go back and look at that at the end of the year. But It does make me wonder. It does make you wonder, and you wonder what investments are people willing to cut ties with and just go, you know what, I'm gonna take the L, or I'll take my minimal gain versus the high gain and aspiration I had. Hey, I'll just take the one that I got in front of me right now, rather than take the big L later, long term.
Oh yeah.
And again, all indications of what Powell and the Fed are saying is that they are committed to this. They're going to be watching all these market variables. September may be the meeting they raise rates again. If they decide to pause, I think that would be an error. Actually, I think they should just do it going into what are traditionally more slower months of lots of things. And I think the new issue is going to be, what do we see out of consumer spending in the winter? Not for this show, but that's what I'm already looking at right now.
I feel people buy the hype and sell the news, meaning that, whenever they come and say this, like, oh, they're going to raise rates, well, then, hey, they're clearly stating it, not saying it abruptly and saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, but you get the gist of what they're trying to do, and then that lets the markets know, like, in what direction it should be moving. So if they're already saying this and signaling and talking in this type of, demeanor, then I feel that rates are only going to continue to go higher because of the fact that they're stating everything is not going the way that they want it to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Do they even know?
And to their point,
the speed is the problem, in my opinion. This
Absolutely.
is heavily opinion. The speed is the problem. Quoted here is PCE peaked at 5.4% in February of 2022 and declined gradually to 4.3 in July 23. That's a difference of 17 months for only a 1.1% change.
What?
So if we're supposed to go from 4.3 to 2, then I'm going to double that 17 months and say that's going to take another 34 months.
Jeez.
That's flirting with 3 years from right now. So this whole idea of, we're going to get to 2%, like that would mean if that happens in the next 12 months, it's not only 2 years sooner than what is forecast at the current speed, but that means something that has not yet happened that's bad is on the horizon, and I do not like having to admit that or feel that way.
That's data.
And Powell straight up saying, despite Powell seeing the current rate of restrictive to the economy, he can't identify a time where basically they're going to be able to bring this down. So they're right there. He's signaling saying, we don't know when it's going to happen, but we're doing stuff.
Yeah. I know we said it on the show a while ago. I'm like, the Fed's not in control of inflation. Inflation's in control of the Fed. I think that is prevailing and becoming more true now than ever.
That's that balance.
You see the data.
Yeah, that's a balancing act, right? I continue to raise interest rates to cool down inflation, and if I raise them too high, I'm going to cause a recession.
You're going to cause a problem. Yep.
And so where do I go? What do I do?
Yep.
Hey, you see that? I don't know.
So